on Twitch? I need to get the link. Let me post it in Mapmaker.
Same rank, but this time don't get in there. Okay. Yeah, just keep me on the lookout.
Alright, I'm gonna stream here too.
Nice.
Alright. So I don't know if you guys downloaded the startup thing that I posted in the Mapmaker channel. If you didn't, that's okay. You won't have this green guy looking at you. You don't need him anyway. So what's something we could model? Does anyone want to give a suggestion?
Briefcase.
Briefcase. Alright, we can do
I'm trying to
that.
think of something I need for my map.
Ah, no, that works too. Whatever. So I'm gonna look at my folder.
Oh, that skybox looks sick.
Oh, where did you put the startup thing though? In
It's in the Mapmaker
Yeah, I
channel.
didn't see that either.
You don't need it. It's fine. You're gonna just start off with the default cube. So what I do when I start with the default cube is you're gonna see my keys here, and it's a push to talk. So you're gonna hear V a lot, but just ignore V. The keys over here are gonna show you what the heck I'm doing with my key button presses or whatever. But yeah, this is the viewport. Viewport, basically, you have your 3D model. You always start off with a cube. I'm gonna go over to my preferences and show you guys the stuff I have enabled. So the ones I have enabled,
plugins.
yeah, these are default. They come with the Blender. Some of these come with Blender, like extra objects, right? Extra objects lets you add like single vertices and like other shapes. Simplifying curves, that's for animation. Extra objects, that's for more like primitive shapes. You go to edit, then preferences, and you go to add-ons.
And add-ons, yeah.
Yeah, and the ones I would suggest you have are Bool Tool. You can look it up, Bool
What?
Tool.
Cool.
BOOL Tool, and Loop Tools. And you can mess with the other ones later on if you want them, but you don't need them right now.
What if you just enabled all of them?
You don't need all of them. You only need some of them. Having too many add-ons can make your Blender kind of chug, depending on if they get used all the time or whatever.
Yeah. So these two tools.
Yeah. There's another setting I would like to tell you guys about. Is it an input? What is it? Key map. Yeah, okay, so on key map, it might be on right, but left click if you want your Blender to not use right click as the select button, because the older versions of Blender use right click to select. You can switch it over to left.
That's the default for me. For me,
Yeah.
left is just default.
Oh, okay, they might have changed that. That's good. This is spacebar action. I have it set to search instead of play the animation, which is very nifty if you're trying to look up for like a command or something to execute a shape or type of thing. What else?
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, my key bindings are pretty much default aside from that.
Yeah.
Alright, when you're gonna export something, I'm not gonna model yet. First, I export this cube so I get the size of like what something is in the game. So what I do is I go to space here and I go apply all transforms. Now the origin is where the origin should be, which is at the center, the bottom. So when I drag out this object into Unity, it'll be on the ground level, right?
That was just apply all transforms, you said?
Yeah, apply all transforms.
And
now I'm
would I
gonna
do that with every object I make?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
You should. It behaves funky when you have parented objects, because I can parent objects together. So let me show this real quick.
Mm.
So when I parent an object, let me just duplicate this one with Shift D. Right here, I have an object.
Shifty or Control Shift?
It's just Shift. Duplicating is different from
Okay.
Unity. Unity is Control
Shift D.
D.
Got it.
Blender
Yeah,
is
got
Shift
it.
D.
Oh yeah.
So the parented object is going to be the brighter orange. The parent object. It's kind of like Unity where you can nest objects into each other, right? The nested object has derives the properties from the parent object. So remember when you scale something and it ends up being wonky in Unity? Same thing here. So I'm gonna make this a parent object. So I do Control P, and that opens up the parenting menu.
What?
So I do parent to object and keep transform. Now they're stuck together, right?
Can
And
you
the-
temporarily disable that if you were like, oh, I can't even say, like my fridge handle needs to be farther out, so I need to ungroup it so I can move it and then regroup it.
Should be able to move things in parent.
Yeah, you can move things independently still. So even if this is parented together, I can still move this one if I have it
Oh,
selected.
cool. Okay.
Right? I don't use parenting too much. I always just combine stuff at the end. Once I have everything where I want it, I'm like Control J. Control J joins everything.
But how do you make it a parent
You-
object?
Control P. So you select the object that you want to be the parent has to be that brighter orange.
Okay.
So I want this object to be the parent object. It's a brighter orange you see in my stream.
Yeah. Kind of, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's already parented, which is why you see this little dotted line going from the origin of this shape to the origin of this shape.
But what did you do with the other duplicated cube or whatever?
What? I just
Yeah,
selected it. I just selected it. Shift to select multiple objects. It's the same in any room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, got it.
I see. And then how do you do the transform thing again?
Press G to grab. G to grab and you can move them around. If you want to lock it to a certain axis, you just press the letter for that axis. So if I want to grab this and lock it to the y-axis, I'd press G, then Y.
I see. It's cool.
And then it's just stuck to that axis. Or you can have every axis except for one by pressing Shift and then that name of the axis. So if I want it to be locked only to X and Y, I press Shift Z and it won't go up or down.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So I'm going to export this into my project and then we'll see how it ends up being in-game.
Mm.
We went on OBJ, right?
No, we're doing FBX. I use FBX, the file type FBX, because, I don't know, I've always found it easier to work with. I don't think there's any problem with having it OBJ, but I've been working with FBX mostly.
Polly, is it generally pretty consistent when you export an object? Like this cube is 111 in scale.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you import something that's 111 into Intruder, obviously it's not always going to be a cube, but is it generally pretty consistent in size?
It should be consistent in size, and if it isn't, that means somebody was modeling something off scale. or for something completely different. You could always bring it into Blender and then apply all the transforms and then see what size it'll actually be. But yeah, you consistently want to try to get 1:1:1 scale on any object you bring in. And I know I made that mistake a couple times. So here are the export settings, and you can save them as a preset up here with the plus sign once we get it set up. Okay. So I'm gonna change this from all local to FBX unit scale. I'm gonna apply transform. I'm gonna enable that. And everything else should be fine. Here's other export limitation settings. So if I were to be working on a giant scene and I only want to export certain things, I could limit it to objects I have selected in the scene, objects that I can see in the scene. For example, there's an eyeball here. I could disable or enable the cube, and that would determine whether I can export it or not. And then active collection is just what you have in a scene collection. And a scene collection works the same as a hierarchy in Unity, where you can have a bunch of objects in one box. Yeah. So I'm going to export this. It's not a table yet, but it's a cube. And bam, it's exported. I have my little box here. And bam, look at it. We have it. It's here. Now this is the size it exported at, which is 1:1:1, which is what we want. The position is relative to the world origin. So if we move it around, the transform's going to change. That's fine. Later on, when we work with scenes that are like bigger, you don't need to have 1:1:1 in the position. It just depends on how you want your map exported. Like if you're gonna have a prop you're gonna spam around, or if you're gonna have a prop in a set place that you're never gonna move. Yeah, here's our little cube. Let me get our size reference. Let me get an intruder model in here.
I have no idea what is going on with Unity.
That's not good.
Just give them a default material.
That cube's
So
the one
this-
from Blender.
Yeah, this is the one from Blender.
Mine's are much bigger. Weird.
Did you apply all transforms?
I thought.
Oh, that might also be another thing. So in the settings here, there is a scale setting. Let me find it. Units, yeah, units. So back in Blender, there's a bunch of tabs here. You want to click the shape one. There's a unit system. You want to change that to metric, and the unit scale should be 1.
That makes sense.
And then your degrees of rotation are going to be degrees, length in meters, mass in kilograms, time in seconds, and temperature. I don't mind. I don't think we'll end up simulating anything, so you don't need to worry about temperature. So yeah, make sure it's metric. And then try re-exporting and overwrite your old file, and you should get the right size now. So we got our cube here. Let me just make a change. So once we're back in Blender, right, you can select the object you want and press tab. Once you press tab, your crosshair is going to change. It's going to go from mouse to crosshair. This means you're in edit mode. Edit mode means you can change aspects of this shape, and you can save that, and it'll end up being in a different file called a blend file once you save it. So there's a difference between blend files and exporting. Blend files are like Blender's way of saving stuff. It's like a Photoshop file, but with 3D stuff, right? And FBX is like a finished like image, like a PNG, right? So if I want to make this look like a table, I could bring the bottom up and then add legs. So I'm gonna bring the bottom up. And again, I'm just clicking faces and pressing G to grab, and then locking the axis, right? Pressing G, then X, or Y, depending on what I need. That's just me grabbing faces, clicking, pressing G, and then pressing a letter, right? The axis I want. I want this to be centered, so let me recenter it. And I'm using a perspective view, a top perspective, by pressing 7 on my number pad. So you can see the controls on the left over here. Yep, epic. We got a tabletop here. Now, we can add. So that little circle shape is your 3D cursor. Where you want it. So I'm right clicking here, right? If I add another cube, it's going to add it right where my 3D cursor is. So we can add a leg to this table that way, or we can add it a different way. So loop cuts. Loop cuts are, you do them with Shift R. That's Control R. So Control R is a loop cut. Basically, it adds another set of edges to the shape. If you left click, you can drag it around. So if you left click, it lets you drag it around, but if you right click, it recenters it. See? So this is just adding another shape, kind of cutting this in half. Like that. What's another shortcut? Control B. Control B is another shortcut you can use. This makes one edge and it splits it into two. Basically called a chamfer or a bevel. So we're trying to make the legs to this table, and this is like a way to start, right? We're gonna add the legs like on these corner bits, and we're gonna work towards that. We're just figuring out how to add like a square there. That way we can select the four squares and then just drag them down. So I'm gonna add another loop cut here. I'm gonna bevel it again with Control B. And bam, there we go. We've got 4 loop cuts. So I selected all four of the edge loops and beveled them each. So we get little squares here. Let me know if I'm moving too fast.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Your toolbar on the left side looks completely different than mine. You have a lot of selection options that I do not have, and I'm unable to do a lot of the things you're doing because of it.
Huh.
I have like I have select box, cursor, move, rotate, scale, transform, annotate, measure.
Do you press
add
tab?
cube. That did I press tab? Did it? Why? Wait, what is that?
Edit mode. You're probably in object mode.
God, dude.
Yeah.
It was. Okay, edit mode is different. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. If you press tab, it switches between the modes. Object mode is just to arrange objects. Edit mode is to edit the shapes.
Okay.
So again, the way I got to this part is I just elongated the cube. I created a loop cut. I beveled that loop cut and I moved them over to the side. So I had one here and I have one there, and then I did the same with the other direction. And then I beveled all 4 edges. Ended up with these 4 corners with identical perimeter cubes or squares. So here, I select 4 using shift, right? I shift click all 4. I press E to extrude, and bam. I gotta make sure it's flat though. So let me go into perspective view. I press 1 on the numpad. It is flat. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Here's the little table then. I don't need to apply all transforms because my origin is in the center. You could see it because it's in the middle of the 2 highlighted lines. It's like in the intersection. So I don't need to apply all transforms here. So once I have this shape or whatever shape I want, I can re-export it and overwrite the old file. So I've re-exported it. It's overwritten the old cube. I show up in Blender, or in Unity, and I have a little table here. Table's a bit short. I can bring it up. Bringing up the table's not a big deal, right? So I'm going to show you about specific select methods. You can go into different perspective views using the numpad. I'm going to use this side profile view. I'm going to select my object. Go into edit mode again. Here I am in edit mode. This button up here in the top right, it says toggle X-ray. The shortcut is Alt-Z. It lets you see through the object, because the perspective view only lets you select what's immediately in front. So if I go to vertex select mode over here, this one selects the corner pieces, like the places where edges intersect. So if I were to select like this, I'm only selecting half of it. And half of it, just the faces that are up against me, right? Because I'm on this side. We don't want that. We want to select the entire top part so we could bring the entire table up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle this X-ray mode. I'm going to select with a box select. Now I have this entire table selected. Now I can bring it up. Bam. All right. All done. Now we re-export this again. Re-exported the table. Bam. Now it's waist height. Perfect. Waist height here. Now we need to put a texture on it, right? So I'm going to show you how to unwrap this object. It'll be really simple. I'm not going to make it perfect, but there's a quick way to unwrap. It's the lazy way, but you know, it works. So here I have the UV editor, and the way to get to that, let me close that again, is I click this bottom left corner, I get a crosshair. I'm in object mode, by the way. So I can't do this in, oh, I mean, I think you can do it in edit mode, yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. So I'm in object mode. I drag this corner, I get a crosshair, I move it across to the right. Then I go to this setting up here, the, what is it called? The editor type, 3D viewport. I have a 3D viewport, it's this one. I want to have a UV editor, which is that one. Just clicking on the UV editor here. Now, if I select this object, press tab, go to face mode, and then I press A to select all, I'm going to get this weird square shape here. Remember that this object used to be a square, right? This object came from like a cube, sorry. This object used to be a cube. Each of these cubes is a face on our cube. We can't use this to UV map now because our object isn't a cube anymore, it's a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-UV unwrap. So I'm going to right click and click Smart UV Project, and that should be the lazy way to get this object textured. Right? So now we have our view, right? This is the underside with the cubes missing. Remember how we have the extruded sides here? We extruded them out. Those are the missing parts of the underside. And we can verify that using this UV selection sync mode. So whenever I pick something here, it'll pick something on the viewport. Now we know which is which, what's being what. So this is the top side of the table here. So whatever we select with this option enabled will sync across the viewports. So this is just the flattened version of the faces of this object. So if we slap a texture onto here, it'll show up on this object now. I'm going to re-export this now. Back in Unity. It should be UV unwrapped now. Very lazily, but it should work now if I just slap any material onto this. I'm going to slap a wood material onto this. It's not too bad, right? Look. It works. It works for what we need.
Are you able in Unity, because let's say you wanted the legs to be metallic, but the top to be a nice wood. Can you do that now within Unity, or do you need to go back and...
You can go back into Blender.
Okay.
So let me show you how to do that in Blender. In Blender, you can assign multiple materials to an object. And you can do it very easily. So this is a material creation thing. Like, I don't know, it's just a material tab. Or a material property tab. If I go into here and I have this object selected, I can add as many materials as I want to this table. Right? Right now I have right now it had none. That's why it's accepting whatever material you slap onto it in Unity, because it uses the default one. But if I were to give it 2 materials here, I can tell Unity, hey, I want to use 2 different materials and here's where. So I'm going to go back into edit mode. Actually, I should set up these materials before I do that. So I'm going to just click here to new. That's going to be our first material. I'm going to name it wood. And our second material we want to be metallic. I'm going to click new. And name it metal. Right here. So I want the top to be wood, right? So let's select everything that's using this wood material now. So when you click this select mode and you have this selected, it's going to select everything with the wood material. So everything is using the wood material now. That's good. We want the legs to be metal. So what we're going to do is we're only going to select the legs. I'm going to go back into that X-ray mode and just select the legs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the metal material and assign it. And it's assigned to that material slot now. So now if I go to edit mode and I deselect everything and I go back to the normal mode and I select metal, it's selecting the legs because that's what we want to be metal, and it's selecting the top for wood because that's what we want to be wood. So now I'm gonna file, export, FBX, table. Back in Unity, now we have 2 material slots. We have facade wood, which is the material I slapped onto it earlier, and now have this metal material slot. So let's go over to the metal slot. Let's go add metal material to it, sorry. I guess this one could work. Okay, so this was from a different model probably, so I probably don't want to use that one then. So I don't have many metal materials here, surprisingly. I'll just use red legs because you get the idea with red. Pretty much, it's only the legs now that are red. I guess I could use this rusted metal, but this rusted metal is kind of low resolution. Maybe that one, yeah. Yeah, it's not too bad. So now I have the wooden top and the rusted metal legs here on this table. Of course, you can make these as detailed as you want. Probably, I don't know. I wouldn't go over like too much. It's really hard to make the game lag using models Like, unless they were meant for like high detailed renders, you'll be fine. So, but if we want to, I don't know, add more cover, just, like it's a table, but like there's no cover here. Probably I want to add like, I don't know, walls to it or something, make it more like a desk. We can go back into Unity. Keep in mind, we have to keep UV unwrapping this object for as long as we change it. So each time we change geometry on this shape, it's gonna mess up the UVs in the game. So let's say I want this to be further down. I probably want depth to it, so I'm gonna add another loop cut here. And then I'm gonna do the same for the left and right, a loop cut between these two edges here. So it's Shift R, and then I'm right click center it. Shift R, oh no, Control R, sorry. So it's Control R, and then I'm right clicking. So cut and slide. I'm gonna go to face select mode. I'm gonna select the faces that I wanted to add. Now I have 3 faces selected. I'm gonna extrude them down. Now we have more desk shape here. Kind of hide behind that. I guess you might clip through. That would be an issue because it's so thin. But for now, it's fine. So these are the new faces, right? We have to re-UV unwrap this. So I'm gonna just click right click. I have everything selected in face mode. Press A, select it all. Right click. And Smart UV project. And so the faces don't have to be inside this box for it to work. You can scale them up bigger and have higher resolution if you want. It doesn't have to be in this box. It's only in this box if you're gonna texture it personally. Like if you're gonna go out and make specific materials textures for this object, then you need to keep it in the box. So I can scale this up and get a bit more detail. Again, it'll tile, so you're probably going to see tile mapping on this object, but I'll export it just for now. Okay, see how it's more well, it has more of tile mapping to it because I scaled it up in the UV thing. Right? See how it's larger than the image box here? You're gonna have it loop a lot more if you scale it bigger than this box. So that's why it looks very repetitive on here. The table legs look way better though. I think I'll keep the table legs looking the same, but I'll scale the UVs on the wood part down. And I don't like it going up and down on this, so I'm probably going to rotate this face going the other way. So the easy way to select all the wooden bits is to go to your material property manager, select the wood material, and click select. So that's selecting everything using the wood material. I'm going to scale it down. So I'm going to move it off to the side. It's fine. It doesn't need to be in the box since we're using a tiling material. I didn't like the way this front bit was facing, so I'm going to rotate it. So I've rotated both the front and back. Back into object mode by pressing tab. Go into file and I'm going to export. I'm going to go back into Unity. Am I going too fast?
Maybe. But I think this table looks pretty good.
Yeah, and Now we have the grain on this table facing the right way. It's not too blurry. I mean, it is a bit blurry, but it's not that bad. And we have the table now. Very simple little desk.
Oh my god, it's so big.
Yeah, we can scale it down if we need to. I can scale it down a bit more. So the way I want to scale this, if I want to make it a little bit smaller, is I'd go into edit mode. I'd press A to select all, and I'd press S to scale. Oh, but I'd want it to go around the origin. So I guess the individual origin? No. I want to scale this down, but I also want it to be flat on the surface here, flat on the grid. Origin.
Hey guys. Yeah. Hey.
Sorry about that. Wow, this guy. Oh, my goodness. Okay, anyway. So, once I have my 3D cursor in the world origin here, I'm going to switch the selection mode. This is kind of like a selection mode or influence mode. I'm going to switch that to 3D cursor. Once I have the 3D cursor at the world origin, I can go to edit mode and then scale it down. It'll stay flat. So I'll scale it down about that much. Once I have it a bit smaller, by pressing S to scale, and I scaled it down, I can export it again and then see the changes on Unity. There you go, it's a bit smaller now. I don't know, maybe that's a good size?
I think it looks cool.
Yeah. My camera's getting skewed, so if your camera ever gets skewed like this in Unity, that's from going left and right too much. You could just click one of these perspective gizmos, and then you're back to uncrooked view, or unslanted view.
You could also click. You can click game object and align it with the object.
Oh, that too, yeah. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
So we have a desk here now.
There's a demoted with us.
I'm gonna re-export it, but scale it up a bit, because I think it's a bit too small. Again, you can just tweak the scale of it. Tweak it until you're happy with it. There we go, that's a pretty good size, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a pretty good size desk.
Very epic.
All right, and then if you ever want to make a like, I don't know, this is just for making models, right? Eventually, I don't know if you ever want to make a level in Blender, and I can show you how to do that. But this is a basic level of how to UV unwrap or how to apply textures onto a model that you made, right? And how to make one and import it into Unity. So now that I'm done with this desk, I could just get rid of it in my scene and it won't do anything in the game. As long as I don't save over the file, it should be fine. If you guys ever want to make layouts in Blender, here's how you can do it. I'm going to full screen my view. I'm going to add a plane. I don't know if you need to have one of the other add-ons to add this shape. You can't. There's a simple way to make a plane. Simple way to make a plane is to have a cube. You'd start off with a cube. Go into edit mode. You select pieces except for one. You delete those faces and bam, you have a plane. Here's your plane.
I don't think I have any modifications. I'm able to spawn a plane.
That's fine. You could just delete all the faces except for the top one on a cube.
No, I said I think default you can spawn it, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Sick. So now I'm going to top view. Use 7 on the number pad, right? I have increment mode on, and I have this little magnet on, so that's why it's been snapping this entire time here. You don't need it, but if you want to work on a grid, or you can use that. So I have this edge now, I can move it around. This is going to be the floor plan. So I'm going to make the floor plan in Blender here. So I want a room here. I'm going to select this and duplicate it. I want a hallway there. And you basically just go around making shapes like that. If you want to add something more interesting, you can select one of these corners in vertex mode. You go to vertex mode, select a corner. Press Control Shift B. You can make a diagonal. It's pretty neat, right? Right now I'm still using my 3D cursor to rotate, so instead I probably want to switch it to median point. So it's not vertex snapping this corner to that corner. What if I want to make the corners match up, right? So I'm going to shift. Now it snaps right into place there. So here we are. Also, I might need to change my grid. So my grid is currently at like is 0.062 or whatever. It's the same as in Unity. You want to use 0.25, right, for doorways and stuff. So if I have it to 0.25, now we have the right scale for everything. So this hallway is actually really massive. It's like 0.2 meters across. Oh, it was massive, but down. Actually, this might be small. If I'm second guessing myself on the scale of stuff, I just export it. And then to see it in game, and then that'll give me a better idea of what scale it actually is. So I'm going to export this. I know it's not done. So I'm going to rename it and call it room. I'm going to export it. So here I have this room next to the table. So this thing I actually have is absolutely tiny. So I'm gonna scale it up. So I'm gonna re-export it at this scale and see how big it gets. Okay, that's a lot bigger, but not big enough.
The stream you have up, are you gonna post this as a video after this for just as a look back on?
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
So here's the floor plan. I've scaled it up. The width of the hallways are like 4 meters across. This one's 5 meters across. I could scale that. Hallways, I think, are supposed to be 4 meters across. Long hallway. We've got like this angled floor and this other hallway here. And you could just make floor plans like this, right? Just floor plans. Eventually, you're gonna have to add walls and all that other stuff, and it's pretty simple to do. You want to leave like a 0.25 gap between your shapes. So yeah, it'd be like 0.25 gap there. Yeah. So the reason I added this bevel here is like I did a loop cut and then a bevel is so I can add a doorway here later on. Because it's doors are this thickness and then that width if it's a double door, right? I'm gonna do same for the other entrance. So the way to get the measurements pulled up is you're gonna go to edge length measurement. You click this Venn diagram drop down. What's this menu called? Show overlays. Show overlays drop down menu. And you go to edge length and you enable that and it'll show you the measurements for all the lengths you're making. That way you're not lost at all. Basically, once you have these you could delete that aren't being used. So this shape, you can delete them. Then you're left with pretty much. If you want to add like a corner to a hallway, you select the edges on the other side or the edges you want to go into a 45. All right, the corner, you go to the edges on where you want to make the corner. And then you see this shear menu here. Click that. I believe you want to have it at 0.5. I might be wrong about that. Anyway, once you do shear, you can do 0.5. I guess 0.5 would work. I'm going to select this shape using L. L selects just linked shapes. These aren't not connected with vertices, so they're not being selected. Duplicate with Shift D. Or rotate it. Right. So I scale it in the x-axis by -1, so it flips over. And you can only see if it's red if you have. I think face orientation lets you see what faces are incorrectly, like orientated. Basically, you're seeing the back face. Whenever you make like a plane or something in Unity, you notice how like the back side of a plane is like invisible or whatever. Same thing in Blender. All these planes have back faces and they're invisible. So we need to flip that, and I'm gonna flip that using the menu called the normals menu, which is like I think Alt N. And I'm gonna click flip. Now I'm gonna face again using L, and I'm gonna connect this corner to that corner. And it didn't reach, that's okay. It's okay if it doesn't reach, honestly, because then I can just move these manually and line them up. So I'm gonna press, what is it? It's the Y-axis, right? So I have to line these up to the Y-axis of these. So they just meet up in the middle.
Uh-oh.
I'm fine. So now we have a corner in our hallway here. Since these meshes are not connected, right? See how I'm going to separate them? What I want to do is I want to select everything, pressing A, and I want to go to Mesh, Clean Up, Merge by Distance. Basically, this removes overlapping vertices where they meet up. See, now it's 1 bit now. Now if I press L on this object, now it selects the entire object because it's now connected as one piece here. We can make this hallway more if we select and then press Control B. Now we have like a bevel bit here. Pretty cool. See, just like that. You have a corner bit now. And as long as you keep adding like doorways and stuff, you want to keep segments connected by like a 0.25 thick gap and like a 2 wide gap or a 1 wide gap here so the doors snap. So I'm gonna put the walls in now. Let me show you how to put the walls in. So I'm selecting the perimeter of where the walls are going to come in. So I've selected where I want walls to come in from, right? Walls are 3 meters high. So I'm gonna press E to extrude. And I'm gonna go up to 3 meters. Yeah, 3 meters. We need to edit this shape so we can add the walls to this shape. Because right now, if I add a wall here, it's gonna block off the doorway. So see how that blocks off here? We don't want that. So I'm gonna have to add something here to allow for just the walls not to block that. So the way to do this easily, just add knife cuts. So I'm gonna select this object, pressing L, P to separate. I've separated this. This is now separate from the other two. It's not part of the single shape anymore. But now it has its own mesh. So I have it selected now. I'm gonna press K for the knife tool. So I just click somewhere here and then press Y to lock to the Y-axis and then move up, and then we'll do the same for the other side. So now I have two edge cuts here. I can make a loop cut or bevel these. So if I select this edge and double tap G, it'll slide it along. It'll slide the vertices along the edges. See how it's following those edges there? If I double tap G, that's what it does. I'm gonna vertex snap it to this corner here. Now it's the same. It's lined up.
Would you say there's any benefits or like negatives to using Blender over Unity to make maps with like stuff?
I'd say the one benefit of using Blender is you have more control over the shape of your maps because you could do diagonals and stuff. I don't know, a lot more complex architecture stuff in Blender, a lot easier because you're just working with the actual models. I'd say Unity's easier if you're using CSGs. Unity's easier, Blender's a little bit tougher, but it has more control.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking about doing is I make my map in Unity with the tools, and I'm gonna make it in Blender afterwards to make more shapes and stuff.
Yeah, that could work. So here's our room now. We have a room. Perfect. We have a room. And then if we want, we could add stairs and a second floor, and man, this is already turning out to look pretty cool, right? So many ideas we can go into. If we want to add a doorway, say we want to add a door, it's like, oh heck, I'm figuring out now that I want to add a room here. It's not too bad. We can still do that. So I'm going to do a Control R to add a loop cut. I'm going to right click so it's centered. I'm going to scale 0 in the x-axis so it's flat because it's following the angle over here. I want it to be flat. Now I just do a Control bevel. And then I make it as big as I want. So on a single wide doorway here. On a single wide doorway there. And then I want to extrude this. It's 0.25, right? Yeah, 0.25. See how I got a face up here? I could delete that one. I don't need that one. And then what I do again is I extrude. I could delete that face that I keep making and expand this room out anywhere I want after that. Yeah, you just delete and then you'll have it. You notice how we're missing the heads on these doorways? It's not a big deal. Because if we merge all of our objects, so I select everything and then Control J, right, in object mode. And then if I go to, I select everything, I go to mesh, I go to cleanup, I go to merge by distance. If I do Control R, it'll add a loop cut to absolutely everything. I mean, these walls aren't connected, so these walls are just going to be separate. But once you have your rooms and everything, you just need to do this like twice, I think. So doors are 2.25 meters tall, I think. Yeah. So here we have all the doors have the 2.25 on top. I'm gonna do the same thing for this left side. I can vertex snap it to the left, to the right one, and then what I can do is I select both these and click bridge faces, and bam! Now we have our door head, like up above the door frame. And then we go through door frames, click bridge faces. We do that with all the doors. So let me re-export this. I'm going to room, I'm gonna overwrite it. Bam. Started. See back faces on this, but once you have an exterior, you'll be absolutely fine. So let me vertex snap it to that corner. Again, when you import a model, I forgot to mention this. When you
Hey, what the f is wrong with Toto decks, man?
Are you okay, dude?
No. Well, yes, but I don't know what the fuck his problem is, dude. It's just a fucking game. I mean, I was pissed off that we lost the semifinals, but I'm not taking it as personal as saying I've been sitting in front of my computer for 2 weeks and I haven't seen the sun for a month and I'm complaining about a fucking semifinals.
Anyway, that aside.
Anyways, what you doing?
We're in the middle.
We're making stuff.
My bad, my bad.
All right. Anyway.
Cool.
I forgot the import
Are you making
settings.
your map?
The model import settings. We're gonna click room. We're gonna click model. We want to enable two settings here. We want to enable generate light map UVs and generate colliders, and then we apply.
Hey,
That-
can I ask something before I leave?
Yeah, sure. What is it about map making?
Hey, Mitchie. Hey, Mitchie. Are you making a new map?
Yep.
Hell yeah! What's it gonna be about?
You can playtest at any time. Maybe we'll do that today after we're done here on the Mapmaker channel.
All right, man. Just
That's it.
message me. Just message me when you got that shit. All right.
Sure thing.
All right, man.
Yeah, once we have those two settings enabled, and we mark this object as static, now if I generate lights, let me generate some light. A directional light? I need a directional light. Let me add a directional light real quick. Align it to the sun. That looks about right. Let me go to the inspector. Let's try baking the lights now. Oh, we need to do that for this object too. So I'm going to go to the table, I go to the import settings, I click model. You can only get to the import settings by clicking the object or the model in the project folder. And the two things we want to enable, generate colliders, generate light map UVs, apply. We're done. Let's get some light. I'm going to change this to progressive GPU. You can see my graphics card at the very bottom. I need to save the scene, so let me save the scene. So I'm saving it as the test scene. Now it's going to generate lights. It should be pretty quick. There's not too many things in the scene. It's only like, what, 3 objects it has to light maps for. Look at that, we're getting light in here. It's because the back faces don't cast shadows. If we want it to, what we can do is we can go to cast shadows, two-sided. Sorry about that, two-sided. And once we have them two-sided, we could generate line maps again. Roof, I think, would be fine. So let me roof. So I'm gonna delete faces that are kind of bridging the top parts. So I'm deleting those faces, and now I'm gonna... And that selects an entire loop. Now I can add the roofs to them. See?
Hi, Polly.
Hello, hello. We're map making. I'm streaming map making.
Whoa, what map?
Just making stuff. Showing people how to do stuff.
Wacky
Yeah.
stuff?
It's really cool. You should learn with us.
No.
So
Never.
I've added roofs to the objects, to the separate rooms and hallways now. I'm gonna re-export on it. If we go in, it has a roof now. The light maps are
crazy.
broken. I'm gonna generate lighting again. Right in here.
It is. Especially since there's no windows.
Yeah.
Is the top still
It has
something
two-sided.
transparent?
It has two-sided shadows. See shadows contribute GI. Oh yeah, I haven't UV unwrapped it, which is probably why it's not happy.
It probably is, yeah.
So I'm gonna go to the UV editor and just smart UV project. Some of these are getting unwrapped at an angle. I don't want that.
Does it matter if they go through each other?
It shouldn't matter. But if I'm having trouble straightening these out, what I could do is I can hide
I'll go through each one, okay.
hide the top face and then just select the floor, or the floors here. So I click one face and then I go to select, similar, coplanar. Now I
Face.
selected all the floor. Go to the top, project from the view. Project from view, and now I have the entire floor plan here, unwrapped.
Wow.
And then I invert the selection to select all the walls, and I unwrap the walls. So since I want this to be like, I don't know, a specific texel density, what you could do is you get a texel density add-on, and then you set my texel density, then it sets it to the right size.
Size.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm gonna do the same for everything else. I'm gonna unhide the roof. I have the
Undo the
roof
roof.
selected now. Select the texel density. It's still at an angle, so I could project it from the top again. So. So project from view, set texel density, and then I'm fine. Then I
did
re-export
it.
this.
Then you have to redo the lighting again.
Lighting. The shadows should be two-sided. I don't know if they're.
Oh, it's fine. That one's really big.
Should be darker in here now. Hopefully.
No.
No, it's still kind of bright in here. I have no clue why. Oh, it might be because of I need to give this lighting settings.
An actual lighting, like where the light is coming from.
Yeah, no. Let me just make new settings.
I think probably being a game developer.
And then what else? Is it real time? No, you can't use real time GI. It's baked GI. I could use indirect. Let's try that maybe. There we go. Oh, it was dark for a minute. I guess light's coming in through somewhere. No clue.
Wow. Yeah, I guess there's one opening and it's just going crazy inside there.
Yeah. I guess once you
Can you
finish and
change
close off your map, it'd work better.
Probably fix it,
Maybe-
yeah.
Maybe it's like something weird, like the corners of the building are not connected somehow or something.
Oh, they should
So
be.
like bounce light is like barely getting in enough to brighten up the inside. Or
Other side.
maybe Unity doesn't like being able to see through things. Even if you have double shadows on.
If I run into that issue, what I could do is I could duplicate this and add shadows only.
True.
And maybe that. I don't know, maybe that.
Because it does look like it's coming out of the walls weirdly if you look at them.
It's coming through these corners, I guess.
Almost like
But yeah.
I almost wonder if I don't know. It seems like it's just like bounce lighting rather than like the sun.
It's at a weird angle, but I could delete it. And just run skybox light. For this, at least for this skybox. It depends on the skybox whether you can do that. Let's generate lighting again. Specular light is coming in, but that's because of the material. If I were to disable specularity on this material, disable specular right here, it would work. I can do that right now, actually.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna go to materials. I'm gonna change this material thing to standard legacy and apply. Now it's giving me the option for the material. It has none. I'm gonna go back to the model. I'm gonna assign it the default. Not letting me edit the default, so I guess I gotta give it a different default. There we go. This one works. So disable specular, disable reflections, turn down the smoothness, and now we have our dark ring. Lights. I'm gonna turn light. Do that material assignment thing like you did before to make the and you can add more stuff onto the map. So if you want to be able to see into the building, what you could do is you could click backface culling, and now you can work here, just like that. So I want to click that face. Maybe I want to add like a plant thing there. So let me see the faces here. I click faces. So maybe I want to add like hiding spot up here or something, like plant for plants or something, like add some plants in there or like some artwork there. And I can, right? I just, sky's the limit here. I can add windows to this diagonal bit. That would be pretty cool. Have light come in. So I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna set. So I'm gonna inset it by 0.2 and extrude by 0.2 probably. Actually, another thing that I forgot to do, and let me check Unity here just to be safe. Oh, the scale of this is 1 to 1 to 1. So it is correct. I wanted to make sure, because we have to apply transforms to make sure this thing is the right scale. But I'm going to apply transforms anyway. And I'm going to go back to those faces I was editing for an extrude. I press E to extrude. So I press E and -2 to push it back. I'm going to do the same for the other faces here. Press I to inset and then extrude after setting it. So now we're making windows. So now I have some windows here. Bam. Here we have some windows now. That'll let some light come in. Let's export this again. There we go. Try baking lights again maybe? It'll look nicer. So light should come in from here. If not, I don't have a directional light. Oh wow, look at that. Very pretty. We have some light coming in. Very cool. Look at the way it bounces and stuff. Very fancy.
Very cool.
Cool is cool though. Polly, are you gonna make Cliffside 3?
I think everyone here is an SBA.
Yeah, he is working on it, actually.
It's on the what's it called? Progress tracker?
Yeah, probably.
Dev tracker? I don't know if it's
Remember
in
when
the
Cliffside
dev
2 was a thing? I don't know what happened to that one. Why did we stop working on it? Other than Jake leaving, I think.
I think it was a Jake. I think it was a Jake only project, and then he kind of
Yeah.
stopped working on it. Now we're working on like an official one. What Polly is, and all the other dev team. Yep.
What you're gonna do is you can go into here and select the floor, and then you go to the material signer, assign it here, just add it in the game once it's there. So let me give it a new material here. So I assigned a carpet material to this area in particular. I'm gonna export room.fbx. Let me add a carpet. Now it's a carpet only for this room. Look at that. I probably want a brighter carpet because it's dark in here. This one's very big. Probably want a smaller one. Probably some better carpet textures out there you could use, and if it's too small, you can rescale it. So this one super looks. So what I could do is I can go to Blender. I could have this model, right? I have the floor selected. I could scale it up in here, and then re-export it, and then it'll be smaller in here. So now we have an actual pretty good carpet material.
Good. Hey, we have. You said we were posting this to the vid. We can watch it back. That's what I'm gonna do because I'm just a little bit lost. That's fine.
Props. Yeah. I think most people are gonna end up watching the VOD. If that is the case, then hello. If you have any questions, I guess you could just DM me. But yeah.
It's good to have. It's good to have a VOD like that.
Yeah.
Just kind of going through everything.
Yep.
I hate VODs.
Yeah, I think I'll end the stream there. Because that's pretty much all it takes to.
Buttons.
Nice. You should make a YouTube series. That'd be cool.
True. You'd be like that guy did before.
Blender tutorials out there already.
Yeah, but you can one up them by being better somehow.
You'll get light seams here. I don't think there's a way to tweak the real-time lighting to prevent that. I guess you'll have to block that manually, like a thing there, like something blocking the light from hitting that. It's fine in this corner. And light seams show up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you get reflection probes?
I'm gonna end the
How'd you get that so
VOD.
dark? I have my map. I have completely dark spots on my map, but without reflection probe, it doesn't get that dark.
What I do is I turn the smoothness down on the material.
Oh.
So if you don't have smoothness down, you can't get. You have to turn smoothness all the way down.
Do I have smoothness up? I don't think so. I don't know. It should be good. I like that. I'll look at the.
Yeah.
I was kind of not. It's a VOD over.
VOD's not over yet. I'm gonna end it in a bit.
Oh.
But I disable specular highlights. Specular highlights also. So if you have reflections on, you get this. I turned reflections off. on the material.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want it to be a dull material.
Or you can use reflection probes, which you usually end up doing anyways.
And you're gonna have to light probe this entire building or whatever you make. So good luck
Yep.
with that one.
Is there an auto light prober?
Mm,
I thought there was at one point.
this is looking pretty. I like the way the light. This is a very nice skyblock.
Yeah, I liked it.
Can you make it pink?
Pink? I think I can.
Yay!
It's a bit. And I think if I bake lights with this pinkiness on it, I think it'll translate. Looks like a
Good.
Aero skybox is always like pink and crud. Oh, look, it came across. Yeah, it's pink.
Wow. It's good.
Anyway, I'm gonna end the pod there.
I want to watch it back.